Hey everybody, welcome to the garden. I hope you're having a great day. Shout out to the lemon and lime lovers and everybody in between. It's time for the crypto market recap. Let's hop into these charts, see what the story is and what it may be. And remember, if you're interested in any of the services I provide, please check the links in the description for both the Patreon and Discord. Okay, so we're going to go over a few coins today, mainly Bitcoin and Ethereum, as we have been short them. However, we have closed our shorts today. So congratulations if you were in the shorts with me. We made some great profits. Okay, so let's take a look at Bitcoin. As everything we have been road mapping for the past couple weeks hit the major trend line of resistance, this red line here, then fell off, made a bear flag to break through the top of this rising wedge, which is an extremely bearish pattern. Okay, it's an extremely bearish pattern in the context of the larger drop. So we broke back into that based off of the bear flag consolidation, and now we hit that first target zone I was indicating at, which was 42k, and we're breaking under to this major support level around 39,000 to 40,000. So why did I close the short premature to this level? Because this is a possible level to where you can see a nice bounce. So the risk to reward from where we got in to waiting down here, in my opinion, wasn't worth it anymore. We made a good chunk of change. We made, I think, just under 14%. There was no point in aiming for another, $1,000, $2,000 drop here. We might as well just take our money, sit on the sidelines comfortably, and the price action tells us something different. Then we can act with all the extra money we've made with very little risk. See, that's the way I like to trade, and I feel like that is the most consistently viable way to make money in the markets. So we're gonna watch this rising trend line now. So let's actually thicken it out so it's very clear, and we'll make it let's make it green. Yeah, let's make it green. Let's go wild. So we'll make it green, and we'll keep our eye on this trend line and see how price interacts. Whether you want to go long here or not, well, that's to be determined. It is an interesting place, but we are also now back in the bearish pattern, so you do want to have a bit of a bias that will lead towards the bottom of this wedge. Okay, so here's the pathway I see us going, so we can likely come back down. If we come into it today, like right now, going in within the 24 hours, we'll have a nice bounce here, in my opinion, maybe up another $1,000 to $2,000, so 42k, possibly 43k, okay, to get close to the top of the wedge again, and then we'll likely come back down, and yes, this level will break. Okay, it will break, and testing down here towards 38,000 at the bottom of this larger wedge here is likely to happen, and I think we'll find a lot of demand here. Okay, I don't think we're just going to shoot through immediately, but I do think we'll get a nice bounce, maybe even back to 40k, and then a bearish pattern of some sort will start to form, or we'll have massive exhaustion here, a hard denial, and then break through to go to sub 38k to like 33k, and maybe even lower. Again, we'll cross that bridge if and when we get there. So watch for Bitcoin to make a move down to this green line. If it's very strong, like within the day, then I do see a nice bounce coming. All right, and let's take a look at Ethereum. Let's see here. All right, so Ethereum, we also closed a short on this. Beautiful trade. I think it was about 11%. Hard denial off the trend line here, and now it's come into the high probability area I've been mentioning over and over, which is about 3,000. Okay, I said 3,000 would be that level that you see Bitcoin get to, and look what it did to get there. It made a beautiful bearish pattern, bear flag, beautiful. That was almost a textbook bear flag right there, and off of one daily candle, it got there. Like that's ideal. That's ideal, because if you're trading patterns and you take a short from this, well, this was the easiest trade ever because you had so little drawdown, if any. Right? Because you just got in, and literally the next day you wake up, boom, it's down. It doesn't get easier than that. I wish all trades were like that, but they're not. Thankfully, we got up around this point here, and we were able to, comfortably watch as this all happened. And now we're on the sidelines, ready to go, waiting. And again, my my level of interest to see if Ethereum is going to be another long is down towards this zone here. Okay, so anywhere from 2800 to this rising trend line here, this thick black line here, this will be the next zone where I'm somewhat interested possibly to look for a long. Again, it's really depending on how the price gets there and how Bitcoin looks when price gets there. We don't make choices in a vacuum. We have to recognize that Bitcoin's price action does run the overall show of the entirety of the market. Okay, so let's take a quick look at some altcoins we've been looking at. Here's Doge. So Doge, fabulous. I mean, super cool to see. Bull flag we had painted a long time ago, a couple weeks ago, popped up into our first target box, then had the massive sell-off, and then what did it start doing? It respected the top of the bull flag. Isn't that so cool how it came right down to it, held it for multiple days, then even got a little bit of impulse higher to where the friggin' box, it got right there to the very bottom of that box, and then got denied again, and now today continuing to the downside. Do not be fooled by these moves. Doge is super likely to come down. Okay, it's very, very likely. No matter how much impulses you see, all these wicks, the probabilities are that Doge comes back down to the very least of this descending line here. Okay, which is going to be anywhere from 13.5 cents, depending how quickly it gets down there, or 12 cents. So be very careful if you're looking to go long, or you are a long Doge. There's going to be more downside, in my opinion. But beautiful trade. I mean, it's super cool. I wish we took it, but the reason why I didn't take it is because it just wasn't high enough probability for me, and I wasn't trusting of the bull flag at this time, as Bitcoin wasn't showing major strength, at least not consistently. So, you know, we miss trades sometimes, but safety over everything. That's what keeps us in the game, to take the trades that we do and experience the wins that we tend to do almost every trade we take. So let's take a look at Solana. So this one's interesting as well. Solana, you know, hard denial at this pivot point here, right here, this low pivot here to this high pivot. Strong resistance zone. I wish it was able to get a little bit higher, because I was aiming towards the 150 mark to short, or at least the 148. It just couldn't get that last push, so unfortunately we missed this trade too. But again, that's okay. You know, like I said before, it's part of the game. Solana's coming into some stronger support, so you'll see $100 play a pretty large area of support. $100 to $98. This will be a strong support level. If that breaks, then look for this ascending trend line here. This should be pretty strong support. I think you'll see a nice bounce back to $100 possibly, or maybe $98. So this will be a pretty cool zone possibly to go long. Again, you just got to keep your eye on Bitcoin. Solana is an interesting chart. It's definitely not worth shorting now. So if you're trying to go short now, I'm warning you, you're on the back end of this down move. We're likely going to have some point of rest, but you know, just be very careful if you're doing something like that. And again, you know, take a look at how this price action was. It comes down hard, 3 candles surge down, and then you have this bit of a consolidation, but where is it leaning? To the downside. So this consolidation wasn't rising up, which is what? Bearish, right? That's bearish. This is probability wise more bullish. Okay, so why did this not go up? Well, there's actually a simple reason. No support. Very minor support here. This is the major support down here at $100. Plus, you also have to look at Bitcoin. So you want to make sure when you see patterns like this that they coincide with what Bitcoin's doing story-wise. Take a look at Bitcoin. So Bitcoin was pointing downwards at this support level. So you would think that there might be a chance that could possibly start curling up here. That's possible. However, what you want to do when you see a situation like this is start looking at each individual candle. So take a look at this. So we have massive down move. We have what I would call a rest day, okay? And then you have another engulfing bearish candle, and then you have this candle here. So this candle here is pretty interesting. Low wicks, but less than 50% of this candle was retaken. It was maybe just over a quarter. So 30% of this candle here was taken back by this candle here. Not super bullish. That's actually fairly weak that the bulls or sellers couldn't get the buyers to get up to the 50% mark at least of this candle. So then what do we see the next candle? Well, we see, whoa, look, it got bought up towards the top of this candle, but what immediately happened? It started selling back off and it closed under this candle. Okay, so that's when you know, all right, the buyers they will not buy up here. They don't have the fuel, and the sellers can't drag them up here. So this is likely going to become bearish. Okay, this is likely going to break lower. Plus, the move from here to here, there wasn't that much. There's not a sign of exhaustion somewhat, right? You didn't have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 daily candles all green at the same time. This, you only had 1 and 2 before you had a point of consolidation that drifted to the downside. So you want to keep the context clear. You gotta make sure the context is clear. All right, so same thing with Solana. You only had 3 days, one major day for sure, 11% drop, but then you had about a quarter to 30% of that candle that was somewhat taken, and then the next day, what? Another engulfing candle. So you're having signs here that the candles are telling you that, hey, this doesn't have the impulse to go higher. At least right now, you're likely going to see more downside. There's more downside here, and that's what we're seeing. Again, I don't expect you to, if you're newer to charts, or even if you're not, this takes time to understand. It's a different language, okay? So, if you want to get into this and you want to really try and learn it, don't put the pressure on yourself to know it immediately. The more you look, the more you start talking to yourself and others who are in this, the more you'll start understanding how this works. It's going to take time. That's okay. So let's take a look at, let's just go over Solana one more time. So look for $100 to about $98. That might be a nice support zone, and then a break under will get us down to like $80 to $86. Okay, so just keep your eye on Solana. Might be an interesting play. Let's take a quick look at XRP. Actually, I'll look at Cardano right after too. So XRP in that green zone, breaking lower. Again, like I said, XRP, it's gonna have a lot of demand here, but no matter what, Bitcoin runs the show. So if Bitcoin starts showing any significant weakness, watch this demand get taken and then go lower. So I would definitely aim for anywhere from 65 to 63, 62 cents in the short term. And then if that breaks, then you're probably going to see that 50-cent mark. And this is going to be extreme demand down here. Okay, extreme demand. The only way I see this breaking under is if Bitcoin's going sub 30K. Okay, which is, in my opinion, that's what I see happening. Okay, I'm in the school of thought that Bitcoin will likely go sub 30K. Again, not tomorrow, not next week, not next month. It's going to be a slower process, because what is retail traders trained to do? They are trained to buy the dip. They do not understand market structure, because for the last 10, 14 years, they've watched the stock market only go up. And most of the new traders in crypto have only been here since after COVID, which crypto's only gone up since then. So we have to understand that they're only going to think about buying the dip, where in a bear market, that is the road to destruction. We do not want to follow them. And that's another reason why I also decided to close the Ethereum and Bitcoin short, is because I've been watching the social medias, mainly Twitter, and everyone's becoming very negative, very bearish. Well, that's great, because now I'm starting to see people are starting to get upset. It's likely getting closer to a time to be on the opposite end of them. So we started closing our positions that were aligning with their sentiment. So you see, you want to make sure you're slowly transitioning away from them, not immediately, slowly. And so if we see opportunities to go long, it might be a good time to do, because they'll be negative as we're going long. And then once price starts going up, they'll start changing to a positive mindset. And what will we be doing? We will be selling to them. We will be selling to them. And that is the whole game right there. That is where you want to get into that zone. You're selling to them and then transitioning against them as you're doing it. Okay, so watch your XRP, especially if Bitcoin starts breaking under 40K. Likely going to see a nice drop towards 65K, and then 62 to 63, 65 cents, and then 62 to 63 cents. Okay, so this zone will definitely be one to watch. if Bitcoin starts breaking under 40K. All right, and then if lower than 30, or at least towards 33 to 30,000, I would not be surprised if we see 50 cent XRP. Let's take a quick look at Cardano. So Cardano, beautiful break. Okay, hit that, very similar to Solana. Hit that resistance zone, came down hard. Now it's making its way back down, and like I've been saying, 85 cents is very likely to get hit, and that will probably break down towards this descending trend line here. Okay, so that can be anywhere from 80 cents to 70 cents. So it just depends on how fast it gets down here, but watch for this line to be tested. If it's held, it's technically a bullish sign. Okay, so if it's held and then we have a slow drift on top of it, so we have a nice little drift like this that's on top of this support, we'll look eventually for a nice break higher. Okay, so that's somewhat of a short-term bullish sign. But you know, if you have a hard bounce off of it and then it comes up like this and then it starts painting up like that, we'll look for a bearish play out to happen, and it'll come like that and break down. Okay, so you got to keep your eye on that. I know I've gone over that a few times, but it's important you get your eyes trained to see stuff like that. Let's take a quick look at Luna, because Luna's having a hard time. And where did it come? Exactly where I said that the highest probability level would be, which is about $85, and now it's sitting there. So what we're gonna watch to see what's with Luna is if it can get a nice bounce and then test this trend line here where the bear flag was. Okay, and this would be a nice place to maybe start a short. Okay, this would be a nice place to maybe start a short position, and in my opinion, it's likely Luna will probably see another impulse higher to 106 if that happens. Okay, so that would be my two levels to where I would add shorts. So open here and then maybe add one here. But again, we'll have to watch and see. But it's very nice. This is a very nice structure because it's a very high probability to come down and get all the way back down to this rising trend line here. It's very likely. It's very likely. Again, all probabilities, no guarantees, but this is a very likely a path for Luna. Yeah. Unfortunately, I really wish it did come up towards this rising trend line, because that's where I definitely would have started a short position. But right now, that's not that doesn't seem to be in the cards. Let's take a quick look at I'll take a look at Litecoin. Yeah, I figured this out. So Litecoin came back down to this trend line. Not particularly interesting, you know, broke under because Bitcoin showed weakness and broke under, and now it's going to come back down. But Litecoin's likely to come all the way back down to $94. It's going to break these lows, in my opinion, at least via a wick, and then hit $94 at some point, and probably oscillate there until Bitcoin shows the way. Okay, so until Bitcoin shows the way. So Litecoin's not particularly interesting because the move has happened, and then from where it happened, it wasn't a good place to open short anyway. It wasn't a high probability level. So we'll just watch it, but look for a Litecoin to get back to 94 and then oscillate between there and $100. Let's take a quick look at Polkadot. So wow, so Polkadot. Wow, look at that. I have not looked at this chart, and I have to tell you, it's actually underperforming what I expected of it. To be honest, it's still not confirmed, but this rising line, this dark, trend line here, I expected this to hold much better than it is right now. For it to come back like this, I still think it'll bounce from here. However, the amount of times it's been hitting here in this short window is a little concerning. So if this level breaks, which it will eventually, I just thought it would happen a little bit later, then watch for a move down to $14 and under. Okay, like a Polkadot will likely get pretty cheap, and this is one of those projects, if you're really interested in, it has a lot of institutional backing. It might be a good idea to maybe look to invest long term. Again, not financial advice. It's just one of those projects where I've seen that they have a lot more mainstream institutional investors that really like the project. So maybe take a look at it and see if it's something you like, and you might be able to get it at a good deal. But this is definitely pretty bearish, unless unless this is held for a couple days, then I see a nice little bounce in the short term to $20 and maybe even all the way up to $22 to make like a double top or triple top. That's unlikely. It's more likely going to be towards $20. Again, I sound like a broken record. It's all dependent on Bitcoin. Let's take a quick look at AVAX, because AVAX is another one I'm keeping my eye on, because look at this rising trend line. Very interesting place to maybe start seeing if it could have some support, if it could maybe get a level of a bounce from here. It's pretty interesting. Again, I would be more comfortable to take a long here if it were to hit this today, and hit it pretty hard, because then there's likely going to be some demand to come in and bounce it higher. Yeah, we're going to watch it, but AVAX is a overall pretty chart. It's not too bad. It's in a bearish pattern though, so take a look at this. So this is a bearish pattern for AVAX. See, what do you see here? What have I been trying to put in your eyes for since the moment you start watching my videos? Yeah, you look at this. It's rising, right? So you have what? You have this drop. Okay, actually we could start from right here, but this drop, okay, and then you have what, a somewhat of a rising pattern. So from here, and then you have this. That's bearish. That's bearish, because what do sellers want? They want to sell higher. And what do buyers want? They want to buy lower. So the sellers are doing what? They're dragging the price higher to sell at the best price they possibly can until the buyers can't do it. Until they can't do it. And we're seeing signs. Look at all these wicks. They can't do it up here. The buyers are like, that's too expensive. I gotta eat, right? So I can't buy up here. So the sellers are going to be forced eventually, once we get to the apex of this pattern, whenever that is, be it today, tomorrow, or a week or two from now, or a month from now. The point is, the sellers will then start capitulating to the buyers, and they'll be like, okay, we'll give you a better price, and then boom. Okay, so that's how this works. So you're seeing a bearish pattern here, and we have to be very wary of it. Okay, it's a big pattern, so you could trade within it, and trading within it's great, because you know the probabilities of it breaking to what direction, to the downside, is higher than breaking to the upside. So your bias is going to always be on what, the side that has the best chance to win, and that's the only thing that separates you from the people who don't win. You understand the probabilities. All right, so watch for AVAX. Might be an interesting place to go long as we get to the bottom of here. Okay, we have to watch Bitcoin, but the overall bias is going to be to the downside in the midterm. Very similar to Bitcoin, by the way. Look at Bitcoin. Very similar to Bitcoin. What do we have here? Big drop, and we have price being dragged where? Higher. Okay, and what do you see? Look at this red line, and then look at this bottom thin black line. That looks like what? A big bear flag. A big bear flag. Ignore the wedge. That's like what? A big bear flag. So you have to, you'll see these patterns are showing you the way. The probabilities are pointing to the downside. Not immediately, but eventually. All right, let's take a quick look at Atom. So look at Atom. Okay, attempted to break out of the smaller symmetrical triangle, failed, came back down, and then now it's breaking under, and now we're going to see if it can hold this bottom part of the symmetrical triangle. The more this has traded, the less confident I'm feeling of this breaking to the upside. Okay, because Bitcoin has been looking more and more weak, even weaker than I was expecting. Quicker, like it's been really moving a lot faster than I thought it would. So my gut is telling me that Atom breaking down sooner rather than later is looking right. So we'll see how this goes. Again, it's not tradable for me. It's just not a tradable setup for me. I can't trade symmetrical triangles because I just don't, there's no bias one way or the other. It is a literal coin flip, so I'd rather just let it play this pattern out and then wait for another setup. But like I've been saying, this is a very big symmetrical triangle that will definitely affect Atom's bias for a long time. Okay, so let's watch and see what happens. But this is looking pretty bearish right now. Anything else? I think that's it. We went over a few coins, and like I said, if anything goes crazy later today, I will definitely make another video. And you know, if I do, let's just say I do decide to take a position, I may end up making another video explaining the position. We'll see. We'll see. All right. So everyone, I hope you had a great weekend. Let's hope we have a great week and a great rest of this month. It's been great so far. And remember to be vigilant, to be patient, and be nimble. Love you guys. Take care. Bye.